After looking at many ideas for the semester project, I decided to create a combined kids game. The purpose of my product is to provide enjoyment among children as they play interactive and educational games. I chose to do this application because it allows me to showcase my computer programming skills using various Python concepts, such as object-oriented programming, iterations, functions, and many more. I decided to use the Pygame framework because it uses Python, the programming language that we have been learning the entire semester. However, because I did not know much about this framework, I used websites such as Pygame documentation to help me learn the basics and fundamentals for my assignment. In addition, since I enjoy doing art and designing, I can utilize my creativity and artistic abilities to create fun and aesthetically pleasing games. During the weeks, I was able to create an application that consists of a start page, a main menu, a space game, a guessing game that has two components, Disney characters and animals, a Flappy game with different levels of difficulty, a maze game, and an apple picking game. I enjoyed making each game as I enhanced my knowledge, skills, and experiences. Now, when I run my program, the first thing the player sees is the start page. I incorporated music, a title, a background image, a start button that transitions to the main menu, and a button that lets the player turn the music on or off. I created a Python file for this page, which is also my main file I use to run my program. In this file, what I did was import Pygame and initialize it, then I made functions that displayed a text, created a start button, and designed the start page screen. In the function that creates the start page, I set the size of the game window, the caption, the background image, and the title. Then this block of code adds the music. In this game loop, this code is crucial in my program because it allows the player to exit the game anytime when they click the X button in the top right corner. Then, the following three lines are also really important because they allow the player to use their mouse. These lines were used many times throughout my program. As for the next lines of code in this file, it creates the on or off music button, for which creating buttons will be mentioned later in the video. The last line of the function is pygame.display.update, and it is used so many times to update the game screen. Without it, nothing will be displayed. After the player clicks on the start button, it takes them to another page. This page is the main menu, which allows them to choose which game they would like to play. In the Python file, I created a function that creates the main menu game window. As I scroll down, you can see that a lot of the lines of code are really similar to the start page. However, most of the code is just creating buttons. So, for the lines of code for the space game button, the first if statement checks if the player's mouse is hovering over a specific location. If it is, the button changes color to let the player know that they can click it. This is what the next if statement is for. It checks if the player actually clicks on the button so that they can enter the game. Then, the next block of code outputs the words space game onto the button. Speaking of the space game, here's how you play it. For this educational game, I first made an instruction page. Once the player clicks the start game button, they automatically enter the space game. In this game, the player has to select the image of the planet that best answers the questions. They have to answer as many questions as they can before the 1-minute time limit. So, the first question asks, which planet has rings visible to the naked eye? The correct answer would be Saturn. If they get the answer right, they earn a point and the screen outputs the word correct. However, if they answer incorrectly, they lose a point and then it will instead display the word incorrect. The only time they would not lose a point would be if their score is already 0. After 1 minute, the game ends and it outputs the player's final score. They have a choice to play again, see the answer to the questions, or go back to the main menu. When the player clicks on the Answers button, they will see all the answers to the space questions. The player can then choose to play again and see if they are able to get a higher score. And that is it for the space game. Let's now move on to the code. In the space game Python file, I created two lists, one that contains a set of questions about the planets, and the other a set of answers. Next, in the main game loop, I added the background image, the pictures of the planets, and I imported the random function to randomize the space questions. In the game loop, I added a timer. I first got the seconds and the minutes by typing these lines, then I formatted how I wanted my timer to look like on screen. After that, I made a black rectangle to put underneath the timer when it is displayed. I did this because while I was working on this game, I was having trouble outputting the timer without it continuously overriding the previous numbers. The rectangle was able to fix this by covering up each previous second. Afterwards, I created a game over page for when the timer reaches 0. After creating the buttons for each of the planets, this block of code outputs correct or incorrect based on the planet they selected. It first finds the location of the question in the questions list, then it checks if the selected planet matches with the answer found at that same location. If it is, then my game outputs the word correct and adds a point to the score counter. This line lets the display change for only a few milliseconds. For this part, my game will instead output the word incorrect while taking away a point from the score. The following functions in this Python file are just creating the instructions page and the answers page. Therefore, that is it for my code for the space game. This was a fun game to program because learning about space is one of my favorite pastimes. Hopefully, as the kids are having fun playing this game, it can also teach them more about the planets in our solar system. Let's move on to the next game. The guessing game has two topics for the player to choose from, an animal guessing game and a Disney characters guessing game. Both games allow the player to guess the name of the Disney character or animal based on the partial image shown on screen. They can type the correct answer in the text box and it doesn't matter if they use spaces or capital letters. Depending on whether the player guesses correctly, my game will output the word correct or incorrect, as well as show the answer to that partial image. After 10 guesses, the game ends and it outputs the player's final score. The Disney guessing game is exactly the same as the animal game, except it just uses different pictures. For this game, I created 3 Python files, an animal file, a Disney file, and an integrated guessing game file. In the integrated guessing game file, I made 2 functions. One is called guessing choice, which creates a page that asks the player to choose the Disney or animal topic. It features a background, text, and 2 buttons that transition to the animal guessing game or the Disney guessing game. The second function creates the instructions page, and it also consists of a background image, text, and buttons. Since the animal and Disney files are almost the same, I will just talk about the code in the animal file. Firstly, these 2 lines of code call 2 functions from my images Python file. The images file contains functions that return a list of images. I downloaded many images for this game and I put all the partial animal images into one function and all the answer images into another. Putting the pictures in a list allows me to randomize the partial images in the game. For this function called animal screen in the animal Python file, it creates a display that does not change. This means that when I add lines of code that creates the background image and text, my animal guessing game will always have the same display as the background. The only thing that will change during the game is the images. This next function creates the text box for the player. It first checks if the player clicked on the text box. If they did, the box changes color to yellow to let them know that they can start typing their answer. If the player did not click on the text box, nothing will happen and the box will stay the color gray. The following line draws the rectangle shape of the text box. Then, these lines add the features to the game screen while setting the location of the text. This part sets the maximum size of the text box, and lastly, pygame.display.update outputs everything onto the Pygame display. Now for the function that actually runs the animal guessing game, I first set the size of the text box, then I called upon the animal screen function, which sets the background design. Then, this line randomizes the list of images to be displayed on screen, and then this code outputs the score by using a global variable. I use a global variable because I don't want the score to be 0 every time I call upon this function. I only want it to reset when the game is over or when the player wants to play the game again. For this part of my code, I use conditional statements to make it so that the player can only guess 10 animal pictures each time they play the game. So, if the player did not guess 10 times yet, and if the random image selected has not been repeated already, add it to the already shown list that was declared at the top of this Python file, and then display that image onto the game window. If the image was already shown, select another picture by recalling this function. In the game loop, this checks if the player uses their mouse, and then it checks if the mouse clicked on the text box. Then, if the player uses their keyboard, These two lines ensure that no more than 11 letters can be typed. For this part of my program, it allows the player to use the backspace key. Then, the following line checks if the player clicks the return key. If they did, this line of code gets the location of the image that is shown on screen by using indexing. Then, these two lines allow the player to use spaces, as well as capital and lowercase letters in their answers. If the player guesses the picture correctly, a page that only lasts a few milliseconds based on this line of code outputs the word correct, states the name of the animal, and shows the answer of the image. When the player gets the answer wrong, this else statement creates a similar page to the one that outputs correct, except it instead displays the word incorrect. Then for this line, it allows input from the keyboard. Furthermore, when creating buttons that transition to another page, such as the main menu, I wrote the lines already shown.clear and points equals to 0 to reset the variables once the player leaves the game. This can then allow them to play the game again. And that is it for the guessing game. The next game I created is the Flappy game. Once again, there is an instructions page. Then, once the start button is selected, the display transitions to another page that asks the player to select the difficulty level. Let's start with the easy Flappy game. When we first enter the game, we will see a message that says press space to play. This simply means that to play the game, all you have to do is click the space bar on your keyboard to make your character jump. You earn a point every time you go past a pipe without hitting it. If you hit any pipes or land on the ground, the game will end. When the game ends, it outputs your score, your high score, and the message, press space to play. What's good about this game is that I imported the random function to randomize the image of the player each time someone plays the game. Now, let's go to the harder Flappy game this time. As you can see, this version is really similar to the easy Flappy game, except instead, more pipes are added. The other difference is that this game measures how long you can stay in the game rather than how many points you can score. For this game, I created two Python files, one for the easy Flappy game and the other for the harder game. Both files are really similar to one another and I used object-oriented programming. I first created a player class where this is the initialization method and its attributes set the starting location or position of the player in this game. Then, the method fly controls how the player jumps. This method, draw, creates the player, for which is an image that is randomly generated from a list of images. The following method, called reset, resets the location of the player every time the game restarts. Then I created a pipe class. Here's the initialization method, where this line randomly chooses where the space between the pipes is located. Then, this determines the location of the pipe appearing on the screen, and this line is the amount of space between the top and bottom pipes. Next, I created a method called update, which continuously updates the pipes on screen. This controls the speed and movement of the pipes, making the pipes move left. The following line of code sets the distance between each pipe, and if the pipe is not displayed on the screen anymore, it deletes the pipes that were appended to the pipes list. Then, this line checks for collisions between the player and the pipes. If the player hits a pipe or lands on the ground, the game ends. If the player makes it past a pipe without hitting it, they earn a point. Next, I created a draw method that simply draws the pipes on screen. This line creates the top pipes and this one makes the bottom pipes. Now in the Flappy game function, I randomize the image of the player, and then here, this checks if the player uses their keyboard and the spacebar. So if the game just started and the player clicks on the spacebar, they will start playing the game. However, if the game is over, then this block of code resets everything, the player's location, the pipes, and the score. Here, this is the start of the game, where the player will only see the message, press space to play. Then, this code is the second stage of the game, which is when the player is actually playing. It draws the pipes, displays the score, and gets the high score. Then, this is the last stage of the game for when the player hits any pipes or lands on the ground. It outputs this on the screen. As for the rest of the code in the easy Flappy game file, it is just functions that create the buttons, the instructions page, and the level of difficulty page. The hard Flappy game file is really similar to the file I just talked about. However, what's different about it is that in the pipe class, I added more pipes using this line of code. Since the harder game measures your time rather than calculating your score, I also excluded these lines of code for this game. Instead, I added these lines that creates the stopwatch. Making this feature has been a bit challenging, but after doing a lot of research and video watching, I managed to make one. This was an interesting game to program, but maybe if I had more time, I can let the player choose their animated avatar rather than simply randomizing the images. For next time, maybe I can add more features, animations, colors, and better graphics to create a better gaming experience. Now, let's look at the next game. In the maze game, the player is the square. They can use their arrow keys to move to the finish by collecting as many coins as they can. While I was programming this game, I first had a lot of trouble figuring out how to stop the player from going through walls. It was challenging because when I started it, I thought that I could simply create all the rectangles. This was not a good idea, as this would mean that I will have thousands of lines of code. I would have to create collision detections for each one of those rectangles. If I had more time for this project, I would have added a lot more features. One main feature that I really wanted to add was allowing the player to teleport to different locations. I watched videos and did some research, but I was not able to implement it into my game by the due date. Another feature I wanted to add was a stopwatch to measure how long the player takes to reach the end. These elements would have been a great way to make my maze more fun and challenging for children. In my Python file, I used object-oriented programming to program this game. First, I made a player class that creates the rectangle player, moves the player, and checks if the player collides with the wall. Then, in my coins class, I simply created yellow circles. I think if I had more time, I would have made this game more realistic by adding actual coin images instead of circles. I also added a wall class that creates a rectangle. Many of these rectangles will be combined to make the maze. For this block of code, I made a for loop that adds 50 coins at random locations on the screen. For the layout of the maze, which took me so long to do, I created a list of strings. The W stands for the walls, and the E is for the exit. Then, for the maze function, it lets the player use their arrow keys, and it also displays this game by incorporating a background, the score, the walls, and the player. And that is it for this game. The last game I made is the apple picking game. The player has to select the correct apple that answers the math questions. The math questions are based on addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Because my siblings spend way too many hours on video games instead of studying for school, I decided to create this educational game to help them improve their math skills. If I had more time, I would have liked to add more features and finish this game. I wanted to better animate the apple so that it actually looks like they are falling to the ground. This way, I can add code that would allow the player to move the basket and catch the falling apple. I would have liked to make this game more engaging. So now, in the Python file, I created a set of questions and answers. Then I made two lists of X and Y coordinates. These two lists are used to display the apples and answers at a random location on the tree. In the apple screen function, it simply creates the look of the game, which includes the background, title, and images. For the function that runs the apple picking game, I first created two other lists of X and Y coordinates. This list is used to display the apples in the baskets once the player selected the correct answer. Next, I randomized the math questions and displayed the apples and answers in the game window. For this function, it allows the player to select the apples using their mouse. The for loop checks if the player clicked on the correct apple that answers the question. If they did, then this block of code animates the apple by making it fall into the basket. The rest of the code simply creates the buttons and the instructions page. Due to so many lines of code in my Python files, I used a debugger tool to help me find errors. It was useful as it saved so much of my time. Now that you've seen all the games I made by the due date, my favorite game that I made is probably the guessing game or the Flappy game. While doing the final project, I gained a better understanding of how to code using Pygame, and I was able to apply what I learned in class about Python to create this program. I enjoyed developing this game, and I believe it was a great way to end the course. The knowledge, skills, and experiences obtained from creating my combined kids game can be utilized in university and in my future career.